funding for children's school fees, and he says pay them good and living wage, and perhaps corruption can be defeated. He highlighted his efforts in the area of student loan, increasing minimum wage, and if you can even get more allocation. But some have also said there's need to balance that thought, because if you don't penalize corruption, you don't also show to those people coming behind that there is definitely pain when you do the wrong thing. People need to see corrupt leaders punished, taken to court and really having actual jail term in that sense of it. Without that record example, the feeling out there is that corruption might persist. We're hearing from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission now that it dismissed 27 of its officers last year, and their dismissal was following the recommendation of the Staff Disciplinary Committee of the EFCC, which was ratified by the Executive Chairman, Ola Olukoyede. They were dismissed for various offenses that the agency calls fraudulent activities and misconduct. I'm joined on the show this morning by US-based lawyer and author, is also a political affairs analyst, Dr. Banwo. Dr. Banwo, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
How's Nigeria?
Oh, I love it so far. I've been having a great time.
Everybody is jackpotting, but they still find time to come back home.
Yeah, because it's still our country, no matter what we say.
Maybe it's not that bad after all.
Not necessarily that it's not that bad, but because it's your country, you don't have anyone. You might be an American, but you're never really going to be one of them. We all know that. And I've really had some very positive experiences, starting with the airport. I have to give
There's a lot of upgrade there.
I have to give Keyamo his props. It took me 5 minutes from getting out of the plane to get out of the airport. It's never happened in 30-something years.
Wow.
And because I criticize the government a lot, when they do a great thing, I have to. Keyamo, is they killing it out there? I was very, very surprised. There was none of these trying to give people for money and all that, and everything went smooth. And I was just stunned. And then the second thing I've noticed that is pretty good is that I was even afraid to even talk about it now, so that in case I don't jinx myself, my light doesn't go off. so I've never seen that before. For the first 3 days, it didn't even blink.
There's no doubt about the fact that the cost-reflective tariff is working. People now have to pay more.
I don't care, I'll pay.
But there's light.
I don't care how much it is, I'll pay. But I was just stunned, so I don't even want to be telling my friends that my light don't go off, just in case it goes off. So it went off about like an hour or two, then came back on. For 5 days now, it's been excellent. I have to say that. I've not seen the cost, and I personally don't care. And I believe that most Nigerians, if you provide them the service, they don't mind paying.
Absolutely. Some said that we perhaps have gotten so used to free things, and that's why the system never works.
Yes. So those two, I have to give them. That's not to say everything is fine, but those two, it surprised me.
At least it gladdens my heart that I just got back to have some few good things to say about Nigeria. But they say it doesn't really feel at home over there until you come back home. Is it true?
Well, yeah, like anywhere, it's like it's not even so much because we are abroad. If you live in Lagos and then you go and start staying in Abuja, or you live in Mushin and go to stay in Abuja, Abuja will never be like your home until you go back to Mushin. So the same way with Nigeria, those of us who really love this country, and you feel different when you come here because this is your place.
We'll get to the EFCC story shortly, but your book, The Kingmaker, is getting a lot of reaction. They say you're actually talking about Mr. President.
I don't know where they got that impression from. It's a novel. It's called a novel inspired by true life events. The Kingmaker of Muguland. Muguland is a fictional country, so how can I be talking about Mr.
So
President?
You really never thought of anybody when you were writing it?
Well,
between you and I, nobody's watching.
Every writer is inspired by something.
Okay.
All right. So I wanted to I just love fiction now. So it frees you from all these the thing being personal. Somebody saying he libeled me or didn't libel me, but you can still tell the historical stuff from your perspective. That's what this is.
We'll talk about that later and why you canceled the launch. Perhaps some other time. But let's turn our attention to anti-corruption. Fraudulent activities and misconduct is why EFCC says it has dismissed 27 officers last year. Maybe it's the journalist in me. Why do I think that's a little vague? Not revealing the identities, the cases against them, because that's usually what you know EFCC for when they're prosecuting their corruption cases.
Yes, and I have to say this with all sense of respect to Mr. Oluborode. I really love when the man was appointed. I thought he was going to be a game changer. He could put himself in history because he's a professional. I've met him once, all professional, but I'm pretty disappointed that he has a great chance to write himself into history, but he's not doing it. You don't dismiss officers and don't tell us who they are. In a country like Nigeria, deterrence is one of the greatest motivators because people still have a lot of self-respect. They want to be seen as good people in public. But the EFCC dismissed. I'm not talking about those who are accused. If you are trying to protect the accused name until they are found guilty, you already found them guilty. You've signed off on their dismissal, and you don't tell us who they are. It's an insult to the Nigerian people. Same way they do when they tell you that they've recovered billion here, they've recovered billion here, they don't tell you the names of the people. Like the person that they confiscated 700 and something duplexes from. So for me, our current EFCC chairman, he might have meant well, but it's been over nice, so to speak. I see him as being too sensitive to the feelings of accused persons. So that he's turned himself into a motivator, more or less. Every time he's always talking about what is wrong with Nigeria. When you see the files, you cry over them, and I keep asking myself, we didn't appoint you, Mr. President did not appoint you to come and cry over the files. He appointed you to solve the problem. So if internally they say they've dismissed 27 people, but we don't know who they are, who's to say how is that going to stop other people from doing it tomorrow? I
hear you, and I understand your stance, but give it to the man. It's not the first time the EFCC is dismissing officials under his current administration. In November last year, 2 corrupt officials were also let go. There's this harsh conversation as regards perhaps some corrupt practices within the anti-corruption agencies. It's perhaps the first time in a long while that we are hearing that some are being dismissed. You don't think it's a pass mark to an extent?
How can I give him a pass mark when I don't know who they are? The real is the names that actually improves the situation, not the fact that you tell us you've dismissed 27 people. How do we even know there are 27? How do we even know you dismiss anybody when we don't have their names so that people can verify? And I'm also disappointed in Nigerian press. If the EFCC makes a press release like that, I expect all of them to be all over him. Who is these 27 people? The Nigerian public has a right to know.
No, Nigerians are asking already. You also talked about the issue of the estate in Abuja.
Yes.
Let me read the response from EFCC to you here. Yes. I think it was Mr. Oyewale, the spokesperson, who mentioned that the identity of the owner could not be revealed because the investigation into the suspected criminality in the acquisition of the property is ongoing. He explained that the company suspected to be the owner denied ownership of the estate. And according to him, it will be unprofessional for EFCC to go to town by mentioning names of individuals whose identities were not directly linked to any title document of the properties.
Please give me a break. So you got to the point where you got 700 and something houses to be forfeited. You don't get to forfeit unless you file proper documents with some documentation and names and stuff like that. And the court granted you that. And you're telling me you don't want to tell us who these are. No, even if you are saying that they are denying being involved. Is it the first time EFCC has been telling us they are arresting people or that they are investigating people? To me, it's a letdown, and I have a lot of confidence in the man before. A letdown on the nation. 700 and something duplexes, like trillions.
It is the highest forfeiture in the history of EFCC.
And you feel that Nigerians don't have a right to know who are everybody concerned?
Well, but some say they have seen the name in the court documents, however. So there's a particular name on the news. Personally, I can't confirm that. Yes. But I'm trying to say that, are you not seeing any silver lining at all in that dark cloud, an improvement from what it used to be?
No. Let me be clear. The current EFCC chairman is a marked difference from what we have seen in the past. Very professional, very cultural. I'm saying he has an opportunity to write himself into the history books, but he's missing that by being, I'm not going to say over professional, by being too sensitive to the feelings of the so-called accused persons. It is not the job of the EFCC chairman, for instance, to say, oh, I see these 15-year-olds, 17-year-olds doing fraud, and I feel that the EFCC should go and start a school to re-educate them. That's not his job. His job is not to feel sorry for the criminals. His job is to bring them to book so that other people can stop. So he's done some good work. Like you said, he's got some people dismissing that. But is that what Nigerians really are looking for? The man has been there for years now. We have not seen one very high-profile looter prosecuted successfully and put in jail. That's what we are looking for.
The former Kogi State governor is in court now. I remember him coming out to say he's going to prosecute him or he will leave the office.
Don't even start with that Kogi State guy. Don't even start.
I think he did that.
But
no, because it is
the
his
same
word.
man that went to his office to be arrested and he said he's not going to see. The same man.
Leave out the details. I'm just trying to say. I'm trying to say the man has his day in court now, and he's still considered, innocent until proven otherwise.
I get that, but why will somebody that you yourself declared wanted show up in front of your offices and you refuse to arrest him or to talk to him, and then you send a policeman to his house at night? Is it more about the drama or about doing the work? That's what I'm asking myself now. Like I said, one of his big supporters before, but I'm asking myself now, what's going on?
Some say that the office of the EFCC chairman is arguably the least coveted of appointments, given how the tenure of past 5 chairmen in the history of commission ended.
Okay.
In very controversial manner.
Yes.
Since its establishment in 2003, during, I think it was President Olusegun Obasanjo, every individual who has headed that anti-corruption agency left the establishment in a controversial way.
Yes.
Usually with corruption allegations, the same corruption they were appointed to fight. But some have said there is more to that story than meets the eye. So you also perhaps want to discuss the situation based on the peculiarity of the office. So is there a sense, for instance, to which their appointment speaks to political allegiance? How do you work as the EFCC chairman without, having no-go areas or the untouchables?
I don't know if he has no-go areas. He's never told us that Mr. President gave him no-go areas.
No, I'm just talking about all of the reactions we're getting from the public as regards this office in the past, relative to what we're seeing now.
Yes, the fact that it's different does not mean it's better, is what I'm telling you. In Nigeria, if the people are not afraid of the people who are committing these crimes, they are not afraid of the number one guy, it's never going to stop. I've gone to the EFCC website. He has dared us to go to the EFCC website. He really has completed thousands, tens of thousands of people. But they are mostly low-level people, all these small Yahoo boys. That's not the problem of Nigeria. The problem of Nigeria is that we have governors, we have ministers.
You don't think Yahoo boys are problems of Nigeria?
No, they're not.
You are from the U.S. Yeah, you don't think the perception out there of how corrupt Nigeria is really has to do with what happens online?
No, the perception is not necessarily reality.
You really never experienced that in the U.S. Someone meets you and you said you're from Nigeria, and the first thing that comes to mind is wire fraud. Actually,
no. What they tell me is that they tell me about Nollywood. They tell me that Nigerians are probably the best boys to date. Girls tell me that. They tell me that Nigerians are the smartest. I'm not joking. Yes, you do hear every once in a while about people talking about the fraud. But I'm saying fraud is not our number one problem. The Chinese are the ones coming here to do the fraud now. Did you not see how many of them were arrested? So we get the rep. I get that. But our rep cannot be improved if we don't start doing high-profile convictions back at home.
You're a lawyer.
Yes.
There's also the reality that as head of the anti-graft agency, you're probably fighting the powers that be. Do you think that the office currently has the required backing and protection it needs under the law?
100% now. Good question. When our current EFCC chairman, Mr. Ali, was appointed, I was a very excited guy because I've known the man as not only is he a God-fearing man, he's also a consummate professional. So I will expect him, because he's a God-fearing man, if Mr. President or anybody else is holding his hand behind his back, he needs to speak out. So we know that it's not his problem. Until he tells me that, I'm holding him responsible. Mr. Tinubu, from what we know of him, he's appointed these people. From what I'm seeing, he's not micromanaging anybody. Okay, Keyamo is doing whatever he wants in aviation. Nobody is holding him. So same way with the EFCC chairman. I believe he has the authority. If he's not afraid to execute it, I'm going to hold him responsible until he tells me Mr. President is behind it. Right now, Nigerians do not see the impact of the work he's doing, and he's doing a great job. I'm saying that because what really matters to them is that most of us know, or we think we know, let me not accuse anybody, some of the big looters. How come he can't get one of them and take them down for the count? Not all this cat and mouse game he's playing with this Kogi guy. He's even reducing his rep.
I don't understand cat and mouse.
Yes, if somebody comes to your office and says you're not going to arrest him, you go and start shooting guns.
No, we have moved past that. That's what I'm saying.
We are not past it.
We have, because the case, the man, he's not answering questions in 2 different courts. You know, yes. I mean,
so that's supposed to raise the profile of the EFCC chairman.
No. What I'm saying is that we've moved past the cat and
mouse. The man
is
is supposed to have been convicted by now, is what I'm telling you. If he's doing his job.
But look how they can't do that. It's before the court now.
Yes, but
and you understand as a lawyer that all that EFCC can do is gather the evidence.
Yes.
The EFCC can't throw any suspect to
how
prison.
How will you rate an organization that arrests people first and then say they are investigating, that they should keep them in jail while they are ongoing investigation? Any sane country, okay, you don't arrest until you have finished your investigation. You are not going to come to court in the U.S. You arraign an accused person in court, and you are telling the court they should detain him so that you can continue further investigation. The case will be dismissed right there by the lawyer. So my point is that that's why you see FBI over there. They can investigate you for 9 years before they come. But once they come, you know it's over 90% of the time. But here in Nigeria, we arrest people. Then we then tell the court, keep him in jail while we investigate. Take Dele Farotimi's case. Okay? They arrest the man. They took him to court. And you are hearing the prosecutor telling the judge, don't grant him bail because we are still doing an investigation about whether his book is libelous or not. Does that not make you want to cry?
So the EFCC is talking about commitment to zero tolerance policy. When the new chairman came on board, I recall that he actually asked the staff to publish their assets.
Okay.
You know, and he's talking about the fact that if we're going to fight corruption, we also have to come with clean hands and be as transparent as possible.
I'll give him that.
How important do you think that is to the ongoing fight? Because it looks like, well, I don't speak for the EFCC, but I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate here.
But it's okay.
Well, I have to because
I understand. Just
because the EFCC is not represented here.
Yes, okay,
I'm hoping that maybe Mr. Olukayode himself can watch this conversation and come to answer some questions. But you know, I can't allow you to go all the way without applying some brakes. All right. So, but the point I'm making is, think about it from the point of view that perhaps the way they could have dismissed 27 officers is the fact that they asked them to declare their assets initially and found that something went wrong. Are you saying you're not seeing traces, you know, within this new administration of the agency that there's an attempt to clean house?
You just raised the problem, lack of transparency. Now you are guessing as to the reason why, even you that is defending them, you are guessing at the reason why they were dismissed. There should be no room for that. They list the names, they've been dismissed, so and so dismissed for this, for that. So that speculation will not be. Some people are speculating that they're just throwing that out there as a red herring. Some people are saying that this is just face saving. It's a great achievement, don't get me wrong, but it's undercut by the fact that there's no full information. Why don't they want to give the information? The people have already been dismissed. That means they've been judged guilty. Mr. Chairman has signed off on it. Why should Nigerians not have the names? We need the names so that way people, they can be named and shamed. People like me can go on my blog and mention those guys specifically by name. Okay, that who is policing the police. So they've done a great job. He needs to just finish it, is all I'm saying. All this secrecy is not, is undercutting the great work he's doing. I'm going to give him, when you go to their site, it's amazing the thousands of convictions he's gotten. You hear all these rumors of they've collected 10 billion from this one, they collected 5 billion from this one. Why won't you let us know their name? Because that is really what deters people. Those people that you collected 10 billion from, they probably have another 10 billion somewhere they've saved away. So collecting that 10 billion doesn't really affect them negatively. So for me, I think there should be more transparency, while I respect and understand that the man is really also trying to protect people's fundamental human rights. But if you have been found guilty, there is nothing to protect. It's all I'm saying. When he declared Mr. Kogi governor wanted, was he convicted at that time? But he chose to name that one. Why not name everybody else that you are looking for? So for me, yes, I agree. It's a marked improvement in terms of the way the EFCC treats suspects. They don't just come and start to mess you around anyhow or put your name out there even when something doesn't, where you have not been found guilty. But they need to do better. When they get conviction or they get an agreement, a plea deal, I understand. Plea deals go on everywhere in America. You do a plea deal, somebody agrees to forfeit so much back to the government in exchange for going to jail for a long time. I get that, but those deals need to be published so that we can know that this man was one of those guys who stole our money. He has returned some of it, okay. So that tomorrow he doesn't come back and say he wants to run for anything. We know them. But he's shielding them. Now, I also understand that he has to play the politics. But again, I'm one of those commentators. I understand I'm not naive, right? But at the same time, if a grown man who is a God-fearing person takes a job and the person who gave you the job is putting your hand behind your back, you should let the public know or resign. You're assuming, and as a lawyer, I hope you know that that is not acceptable in the court of law. And that's what I'm saying. You're assuming that he's shielding someone. No, you're assuming that the person who appointed him is... You are the one who said that. I didn't say that. I said that there's a remarkable difference from what
was perceived to be the reality prior to this time. And now that Mr. Olukayode is chairman.
Yeah,
that was exactly what I said.
There are nothing that there's some political consideration. No, as far as I'm looking at Mr. Olu right now, he has a free hand. Mr. President is not touching him. They're not holding him down. So he owns his record. The fact that we are not getting the names of people that are being convicted, the fact that he's not being able to go after high-profile governors or high-profile stealers, is on him, not the president.
What can be as high profile as a former governor? I mean,
One
still
former
don't...
governor, how long has he been here?
There are quite a number of them. The former Delta State governor was called to answer some questions. The former, I think it was the former Kogi State governor. I mean, the former... there's another governor as well.
So you can't even remember it. But
it's the former Kwara State governor.
Okay.
I remember now. I always
Kwara
remember.
Kogi.
Let us open the phone lines as well, because this is an audience participatory
really?
show,
Okay.
so that we can hear from our viewers and perhaps from someone in the EFCC as well who might want to, make one or two comments. But from the recent statement we got from, you can call the phone lines on the screen. You can also tweet to us at TVC News On. Remember to tag at Nifemi Oguntoye so I can see your tweets and read them live on the show. In the latest statement we got from the commission, they're promising to investigate all allegations of fraud and misconduct levied against its officials. They specifically mentioned a particular $400,000, online.
Yes.
They said the particular person has not been named, but that they are committed to doing that. But who do you think should hold the commission accountable to promises of this nature?
What promises?
Of seeing that they deal with all of these allegations against their staff.
Yeah, the EFCC doesn't exist in a vacuum. I will assume there's a commission that supervises them. And so they are the ones, especially Mr. President. But again, how much will Mr. President do is my point. Mr. President has appointed him, and until he tells us somebody is holding his hand back, he needs to hold himself accountable.
Please hold that thought for a minute. Reverend Dominic has called in from Alimosho. Good morning, Reverend. Reverend Dominic, are you there? Okay, please turn down the volume of your TV set so we can have the conversation on phone.
Good morning, Femi. Can you hear me? Good morning.
I can hear you now. Go ahead with the contribution.
Okay. Femi, the EFCC has done well by exposing their own. But I want to support my friend Barrister there by saying they're supposed to publish their names and publish their pictures, if they can hear me. They're supposed to publish the names of these young men and publish their pictures. Why? Because they have known the operation of EFCC. If you don't publish their names and their pictures, they can also impersonate EFCC. They know their operations. They can even go into the villages or into the towns, even to be also the officials of EFCC. But if you publish their names and their pictures, anybody that sees them in any capacity as a security officer, we know that this man has been dismissed. But if you shield their picture and shield their name, it's danger to the society. They have done well, not only to EFCC, there's fraudulent officers everywhere. But for we to live a good life in this nation and show a good example, the names of these men must publish, their picture must publish for the safety of Nigeria and for the safety of that particular EFCC as an institution, because they have known the operation, I repeat, they have known the way to go, they can impersonate it by their own understanding. But if you publish them and publish their pictures, then we know who is who in this nation. That's my own contribution. We must do that if we are going holistic to expose this corruption in EFCC. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, Reverend, for your contribution, aligning with your thought earlier. The EFCC also raised concerns about, has actually warned the public against impersonators using the name of its chairman to extort money from suspects. So some two individuals were arrested recently who had contacted a former managing director of the Nigerian Ports Authority, asking him to pay $1 million to Mr. Olukayode to give him soft landing in what was a non-existing investigation.
So those two people were named, weren't they?
Absolutely they were.
Exactly. Why were then? And those ones have not even been found guilty. That's what I'm talking about. Double standard. So these people have been arrested. Great job. Okay. They mentioned their name and they should, because they are facing trial. But the ones that you have dismissed already, that you have judged, you don't give us their names. Why? You should explain to me. You, since you speak for them.
I don't speak for EFCC, Dr. Banwo.
Okay, at least since they're not here, since you have tried to balance it, there's absolutely no reason not to disclose it, is what I'm saying. I understand the sensitivity of protecting people, especially when they're still being investigated. But you have investigated these people, you have fired them for cause, and you have signed off on it. Nigerian people deserve. I'm writing a petition to him that we need those names. On behalf of Nigeria Lives Matter, my own organization, Nigerians need to have those names. So now these people that have been arrested, I think for impersonating him, it's a good development, because that is happening a lot, where people who don't have authority, they just come and be. But let him not be choosing when he wants to name suspects. They should have a policy. It's either you are naming suspects or you are not naming suspects. And more importantly for me, for the sake of the administration, because the government is doing so many fundamental things, and a lot of people may not appreciate some of the stuff, even me, until I started to see some of them. I get it, but the EFCC is very key in helping us to stop corruption in Nigeria, but it's not going to stop when the big boys are not being held to book, is what I'm saying. So of all the noise in Nigeria, unless we have been deceiving ourselves, so of all the stuff we have been saying during the last 8 years, in his own 4 years of being in government, of being at the head of it, only 2 governors have been suspected of corruption.
Dr. Banwo, as a lawyer, have you practiced in Nigeria before?
Of course, I practiced in Nigeria several years before I left.
You must have heard about the accusation against legal practitioners who have, the fundamental.
Okay, now you want to turn it around. Okay.
No, I'm not turning it around. No, we're just having conversations.
Okay.
Who have played fundamental role in having cases of this nature stretch forever in court.
Yes.
You have your gimmicks. You know how to go around this. So you can't put all the blames on a single agency of government, saddled with the responsibility to fight corruption. But hold that thought for a minute.
I agree.
Mr. Yakub has called in from Dokwemo. Good morning, Mr. Yakub. Mr. Yakub, are you there? We'll get back to that conversation. Let's take a short break. When we return, we'll continue the conversation on anti-corruption in Nigeria. Stay with us, everyone. Don't go away. On the program. Ada's called in from Jos. Good morning, Ada. Ada, are you there? Ada, if you can hear me, please go ahead with your contribution. All right, we'll get back to the phone line shortly. Stay with us, everyone. We'll continue our conversation on updates from the EFCC saying that it has dismissed 27 of its officers in the outgone year. It's now warning the public about impersonators using the chairman's name to extort money from suspects. In October last year, shortly after his appointment, the EFCC chairman formerly served as the secretary of the agency and ex-chief of staff to the commission's chair for a cumulative period of about 4 years. Also asked staff members to declare their assets and prepare for investigations. And perhaps that's what we're seeing today. Ada, are you there? Good morning. All right, let's get back to our conversation here. I'm wondering what you think about how sustainable our current strategy is vis-a-vis what Mr. President said during his media chat, that perhaps if we empower people some more, it will reduce to an extent, the weight of corruption that we carry. But of course, we have an anti-corruption agency that should also do its bit. But how do you marry these two strategies together?
No, I agree. Ultimately, empowering the people is what will reduce corruption in the long term. And I think Mr. President got that right 100%, because I'm personally very excited when I saw Mr. President do this digital empowerment thing, because a lot of our youths, especially those getting into the Yahoo, is because they don't know better. They don't even know, they feel that there is no other way for them to make it, especially when it comes to digital. And I've been shouting this for the last 2 years, and so I have to give Mr. President 100% his props when he saw that. So it's a better strategy. I agree that empower more people, at least the Yahoo part will reduce. But we also know that big names also tend to have big results in terms of forward movement. So, and I'm not seeing enough of that with our EFCC. They are trying. But my point is, I think while our EFCC chairman is a great person, like I was saying to somebody the other day, I think part of his challenge is that is much more interested in the souls of the criminals than actually jailing them. So it's more of a rehabilitative law enforcer.
But is it really fair to pick him up on a single comment he made?
Not a single comment. He says over and over and over again.
Oh,
the
really?
man is, yeah, he says it over and over again. And I see his philosophy. His philosophy is that some of these people got here out of misdirection or whatever. So maybe if we can redirect. It's even a philosophy of law enforcement, by the way, where instead of focusing more on just punishment, you are focusing on redirecting them. They do it in the US also, where they redirect to go do community service, go this, go do. But I think, so that is heavy with him. And that's also okay. I'm not going to say go and condemn all these children to death. So he's more focused on the rehabilitative part of the law enforcement, which is good. But he should still be able to make those very serious impact in terms of the big level guys. He's sorting the young boys out, jailing as many of them and giving as many of them opportunities for diversion, and that's good. But what are they doing for those who actually hold our billions? There's no way you can explain to me why we have no names on these 700 and something duplexes. They've been forfeited. It's not like they are just doing proceedings. At the very minimum, we should have some people did the construction. We should know who they are. Some people, the money that was paid for those went through some accounts. Some of those information should be in the public space now.
That reminds me where we left off the conversation
Yes.
before the break. And it has to do with the role of lawyers in all of this.
Yes.
What is the philosophy behind speaking for a thief, even though I think everybody has a right for defense? But a situation, what we've seen play out over the years is that even when these high-profile cases get to court,
okay,
they take forever, considering how some lawyers have been able to handle it.
Yes, it's a democracy.
Some have built the entire profession, you know, defending politicians.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with that because the profession is your job. Okay, as long as you are doing it ethically, every accused person deserves to be represented. It's even our constitution. So that is not the problem. The problem is probably the system that allows.
And you think they've not been able to effectively manipulate the process to extend the prosecution?
The job of the defense attorney is to manipulate the process, is to extend it. I will hope if I'm accused of something, my own lawyer would try to figure out any way he can to extend and mess up the system. It's for the system to tighten up itself. For instance, like making sure that judges, if it's a bail matter, they do it within a week. To make sure that cases do not go for more than a month or two, you give them specific guidelines. Abroad, when the court sets your trial for your case, and they set a date 7th to 11th, unless you are dead, they are not postponing it. So cases finish faster. Those are systemic issues that we need to fix. But if you allow a lawyer to be able to write if the process allows a lawyer to write a letter into court to say, I have called this morning so I can't come to court. Are you going to say if I'm accused, my lawyer should not use that strategy?
We have a special court. We have a special court for election litigations. We've also revamped our law such that all of these, election cases are dealt with within a limited period of time.
Yes.
Do you think we should adopt that in fighting corruption?
100%. I'm surprised. It's like when things affect politicians is when things move. So those election petitions, you see the way they are done. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months is done. Why can't we do that across all levels of our both criminal and civil system? Now we have some people who are awaiting trial for 9 years, 8 years, awaiting trial for gerrymandering, awaiting trial for petty stealing. That's criminal on the side of the government, not the defense. Defense job is to make the life of a prosecutor hell. It is for us to tidy up the systems so that the defendants do not have anything to take advantage of, just like in the electoral system. You think if they allow the lawyers, they won't extend it to 4 years, but they cut it down. You know, you have to submit your brief. You have to submit it within a certain time. So it worked. So why are the politicians not extending that kind of a closed system to every area of our legal system? Because if they do that, our economy will blow up, will blossom. Because right now, okay, if I have a contractual dispute with you, I'm very hesitant to go to court because it's going to take 7 years. I'd rather figure out a way that me and you can settle it. So commerce has been affected. Business has been affected. But if you know, it's not apple to apple, so I don't want to be accused of comparing Nigeria to America too much. But my point is that commerce is very smooth. If we have a disagreement, I don't even need a lawyer to go to court. You fill out a form. Okay, you people come to court. The judge look at what people are saying on paper and make a decision right there. Everybody keeps moving. We can do that. We've seen it in election process. We can do it in every other area, especially commerce. So right now, the defendant, because of all those loopholes, they get their lawyers and they start extending and frustrating everybody. But I'm not going to stay here and tell you I have anything against the lawyers. If it's in the rule, now I'm not for unethical behavior. If the court rules say you can do this, and my lawyer is trying to use it to make sure that I don't, particularly if I don't have a case, that I don't get found guilty, why will you blame my lawyer? It is for the system to say, no, you cannot do this. You cannot get more than one adjournment, for instance. Complaint of hellfire. In that case, now that is beyond the anti-corruption agency. Yeah, you are the one that brought it up. I'm saying, well, remember. No, because this conversation is on the context, is within that context. Okay, fair enough. In terms of prolonging cases, I get that. But that is not the problem with the EFCC. It is part of the problem. The EFCC arrest you and say they are investigating. How is that problem of the court system? No, but we've also seen some cases get to court, yes or no? Sorry? We've seen some cases get to court, yes or no? I just ask you, how many of the high-profile politicians have their cases gone to court or concluded? Because if you do your homework well. Now you're asking the question, concluded. So some actually got to court. Yeah, because the EFCC, with all due respect, they are not doing their jobs right. So how can you charge somebody with 20 counts, 50 counts? You really want to get a case done fast, reduce it to 2 counts. The one that you know that there's no way it's going to get out of it. Take that one down, get to 4 or 5 years, then bring the next one. The fact that you brought 2 charges does not mean you cannot bring 20 more. But what do? They do grandstanding. They get one like this Kogi guy. They list all these charges that you know. Just to even certify those charges in court will take another 1 year. Because lawyers are not stupid. They're going to challenge all sorts of stuff. So you narrow it down. And they also work more with plea bargaining. People hate it. I don't have a problem with it. Because it allows for efficient administration of justice. If somebody is stealing 100 billion, you sit him down, make sure you have the evidence against him before you arrest him. Don't go arrest him before the evidence. Now you have the evidence, you show it to him. Okay, and then you guys will negotiate. Instead of 5 years, you're going to do 6 years. Look at the Hebrew case. I have to give Olaniwa Ajaya and their props. Not only did they do plea bargain for that case, they got billions from that woman, but they still insist that she must have 6 months. Is 6 months fair for the kind of amount of money that she agreed that she stole? Maybe not, but if they had continued to push that, it may have taken 5 years, 6 years. So they took what they could get. Why are they not doing more of that? I expect Mr. Olu to do more of that. And he is. Funny enough, I'm hearing all sorts of, we just recovered 10 billion, whatever. What he's not doing right is not giving us the names of the people involved. So we don't believe it. If the government tells me we just recovered 50 billion last month, do you think I believe them? No, I don't. Because it's in the air. From who? Where is the money? So that part, I think, is got nothing to do with the court system. It's got to do with the administration of the EFCC themselves. How do you think the agency can balance the need to hold politicians accountable for corruption with the need to also avoid being seen as politicizing corruption investigations? I think it was you who mentioned that we've seen prosecution done on the pages of newspapers. Yes. Yeah, but they are doing selective prosecution. Let them not be selective. If their policies that they are not going to disclose accused persons until they are found guilty, let them do it across the board. Number one. Number two, if somebody is convicted, it's a completed process. They need to give us the full facts. That's when we can trust them. I trust Mr. Olu right now because I've seen him operate and I've happened to meet with him once. And by the way, I have to give him that prop. One of the other things is done that you have not really mentioned that they've done in their process is that when you file EFCC petition now, nobody is stressing you to give them money before they start investigating. I know that for a fact. I brought a case from the US. I don't know the man from Adam. I filed it. They invited me, and they set up. I was just stunned. Nobody asked me for a dime. Okay, so it's done that. My point is that more transparency will help, and less motivational speaking, because the EFCC guy needs to be feared by the criminals. Nobody is fearing Mr. Olu right now because they know he's a nice guy. Okay, he's going to give you coffee. Even if you go to his office, he's going to say no. Let's come through the back door so that I can. It gives too much courtesy. So because Nigerians don't like niceness, especially the real criminals. Okay, when you have a nice like that, they will say he's not a serious guy. Ribadu, when he was there, he's got his faults. But every criminal in Nigeria is on top of on their toes. They know that this man is not playing. I'm not saying he should go Ribadu way. But what I'm saying, they should know that he's not going to extend too much courtesy. Let there be transparency. Why should a governor be able to come in through the back door? He said it with his own mouth that I invited Yaya Bello that can come in through the back door. Why are you doing that? If they are doing that for him, are they going to do it for me? So you are doing selective enforcement of the law. So that undercuts his credibility, even though I understand what he's trying to do. He's just trying to be nice. Okay, he's a governor. We'll give him some courtesy. But a real law enforcement officer does not enforce the law based on the eye. You don't look at people's eye to enforce the law. Justice is supposed to be blind. So if I'm accused of stealing a phone, okay, the way you're going to deal with me should be the way you deal with the guy that stole 10 billion. Transparency. Don't tell one to come through the back door, then get them to come to my house and put handcuffs on me.
So you talked about the number of politicians, high-profile politicians being prosecuted.
Yes.
I'm wondering how many they can do at a time. Is it possible that the agency is overwhelmed in that regard?
I don't know. I don't know since I don't work with them. But from what I'm saying, they're not overwhelmed. Mr. Alubaro, they has too much time to be doing press conferences, talk about things that doesn't have to do with EFCC. I keep saying that because it annoys me. I'm sorry, with all due respect.
Well, I think you've said it enough now.
Yes, I want he gets it.
And we have heard.
Then number two.
So maybe you should not say it again.
Yeah, because you're overwhelmed, you won't have time to do that. That's why I don't think it's overwhelmed. I just think that maybe he's doing a lot. I also want to be fair to him. There's so much maybe rot in their own system that he's trying to clean up before they can really, because he's been there less than 2 years, in fairness to him. Now we see he's dismissed 27 people. Maybe that's what he's doing. My own point is that right now, for me, as a diasporan, reading up on him every day, I needed him to be able to hold some of the big level suspected criminals, because they are not found guilty yet, to put them on the table. We are not seeing enough of that. A lot of what he's been doing now is try to clean up the Yahoo thing in Nigeria. He's done thousands of convictions, and I have to give him his props for that. But if you sensitize the people in the public, do they feel he's fighting corruption? They don't feel that because they are not saying the names. If he has put 4, 5, or 6 governors in court now, work out a deal with them and published it, we will have this feeling that we are going somewhere. But because I'm a professional, I read his body language, and I go to their website every day. Believe it or not, I go there almost at least once a week to go see what. It's always updated. They're always having more convictions there. Everybody convicted there, they have their name, they have the offense they committed on their site. But when it comes to the ones that are, we don't hear about that. 734 houses or so, and we don't have names. We need heads on the table.
Let's try to balance this conversation.
Yeah.
So, at one hand is we say anti-corruption commission, getting people who have actually stolen stolen the money.
Yes.
Do you think that there's a way we can build a more formidable structure and system in our nation that makes it more difficult for these monies to be stolen?
100%, and Mr. Olu also talks about that a lot. That's why I say so. He's approaching this thing, and I have to say that for him in what I call a holistic way. Okay, he's wanting to just say, let's go and prosecute. Why don't we make it more difficult for them to even steal the money in the first place? And he's been saying that. But we do have, and I want every Nigerian to understand this, the British people, they handed over to us one of the most robust bureaucracies in the world, and we have not changed much of it. So we have the bureaucracy. Do you know how tough it takes to even take 100,000 naira out of a ministry account if they're following procedure? PAMSEC, we have to sign. Clinical manager, we have to sign. My dad was a civil servant, so I know that. So it's robust. The problem is that people are not following the process. If people are following the process, there shouldn't be. It shouldn't be easy to steal our money. But what we do is that the governor bypasses so many things, or the minister. These days now, we say instead of carrying the file to 5, 6 places, they just say bring it directly to my office. So it is corruption that is the problem, not our bureaucratic system. It should be very, very difficult to be able to take money from any Nigerian bank account. For those who don't know that, I'm telling you for a fact, the bureaucracy is even annoying. If they want to throw Nigerian bureaucracy at you, I got one piece of land in Ogun State just to get it approved. Took me 7 years because I refused to pay bribe. He had to go from table to table. We went to 7 tables just to get governor's consent on a plot of land. One plot, not estate, one plot in Iju. The character do that, they say, this one has to sign off. And I was sending somebody there every week to make sure it goes from table to table. Because I swore to myself, I'm not going to pay that. It took me 7 years and 2 administrations. Because they just kept holding it in one place. They say he's still in somebody's office. You have to go talk to them there. So I'll go talk. But the talk they want me to talk, me, I don't want to talk that talk. They say, okay, don't worry, we'll treat it.
So you eventually did not pay a dime?
I did not pay a dime.
But you waited 7 years?
Yes, and my client who was ready. It was a grill. I said, we are not paying. I told him, you have a choice. I won't do it. Maybe you get another lawyer, but if we were able to pay them some money, I don't want to go be bribing them. Then they use it against me tomorrow when I go on air and I'm talking my crap. He said, no, we are not going to pay. And we stayed there. So we have the bureaucracy. And what Mr. Olu should help us do is to make sure that those who are becoming caught in that bureaucracy are prosecuted and jailed. We don't need a new bureaucracy. People telling you that we need to revamp the system. The system is there. It's there.
It also boils down to public perception and trust,
Yes.
and I'm hoping that you know, the agency of government will be able to do more in the new year. This is an open challenge to the EFCC. Perhaps we can also get someone from there, or Mr. Olukoyede himself can come on air to have this conversation. I think that it's important that government officials speak more about what they're doing. You know, earlier this year, I spoke with the CEO of Nelfond, and you know, it's amazing that the people do not really know what they are doing. And when that ignorance is there, it gives room for speculation, or what, many of which you have also made during the course of this program. So
I agree.
Perhaps the EFCC will come to, you know, shed some light. But that's our time. We have to go. Dr. Banwo, thank you so much for coming.
I appreciate you
And
so
I
much.
like that you enjoyed your stay in Nigeria. Things are getting better, no doubt. We're hoping that this new year we also experience bigger gains. Dr. Banwo is a US-based lawyer, an author, and a political affairs analyst. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a beautiful place.
It is. I don't think you have anything like that in the US.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
No, I tell you, it's better than CNN. I've been to CNN.
Oh, you haven't said it?
Oh, this your place is better.
He said that. I haven't been there yet. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of the show. We're back tomorrow, God willing. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.